Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join with me are my co-host, Joseph.
Yellow.
And Jehu.
You're muted, Hurt.
Oh, well, you already did it for me, so it doesn't matter. Hello?
Yes, you're good.
Okay,
All right.
I'm back. Okay.
Man, we're having some technical difficulties this morning, or afternoon, whatever day it is.
Doesn't matter.
We're here to talk about movies that changed our life. This is a very touchy-feely one for us, I feel like.
Well, I was curious. I was pretty vague on in the titling. I kind of wanted to see what you guys had interpreted out of this, because I had some like loose categories I had in mind, but I wanted to hear what when I said that, what that meant to you.
I had no idea what you meant.
I'm assuming it doesn't just mean like a movie we really like. Because, I mean, like, I really like Raiders of the Lost Ark, but Raiders of the Lost Ark didn't change my life. It actually pretty much just fit into shit I already was into. So what did you mean by it when you proposed it?
Well, initially I had kind of intended specifically things that are like, you've gone into a movie one person, you've come out a different person, you will never be that person before that movie again. But I've kind of, in breaking down my own list, I've kind of broken them up into a couple different categories, which is there's a couple of those that are in that category, which is things that like actually changed me. I feel like I'm a different person after seeing those movies. And then I have several movies, more of these actually, of things that change what I thought movies were capable of. So, like, I came in expecting one thing out of the experience, and then I realized, oh, no, there's a whole new experience that I wasn't even aware was possible after this movie. And then I just had a list at the end of movies that fucked with my head, which I don't even know if I'm a different person, but I just, you just can't fucking stop thinking about them.
Well, I only came up with 4, and I treated it as movies that affected me as a person, but also affected how I view cinema.
Okay, so it's a bit of both.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. To Jehu's point, one of them, or probably half of that list, are movies that I have said on this podcast that I absolutely love. But I think why I love them is because of the change that effect that they had upon me.
Yeah, I went strictly with shit that after I was over it, something about me was different than before. So even if that thing was just what movies I was into after watching.
I like it. I feel like we've all reached similar destinations.
Yeah.
From vague beginnings.
Well, having said that, Joseph, why don't you go first, since this was your topic idea? And it seems like you have the most movies.
I definitely do. And I I don't know how to do this, because I kind of want to do chronological order, but I don't know if I can actually keep track of which ones I watched in which order. But I know the very first one that I have to write down, which is the movie that stole my innocence, which is not anything specific to this movie, but is more specific to my life experience. Is the movie The Patriot. Because it was, I don't remember how young I was when I saw it. It was on, I was, with my parents at one of my parents' friends' house, and it was on, somebody at their house was watching it. And I just know that I was too young to watch it. And I remember like walking into a room specifically at the moment where Mel Gibson throws an axe or a hatchet directly in between the dude's eyes and into his skull.
It's the greatest tomahawk death scene in any movie.
And I thought about that shit for like 2 years afterwards. Like, that fucking ruined me. And, now, like, it's fucking nothing. But at the time, I had just never seen anything quite that gruesome. I've never, like, even though some part of my brain was aware that it may not have been real, it looked really real to me. And I had never seen a man die, at least quite like that. So that was the first one that I feel like there was one Joseph at the beginning of that scene, and then there was a different Joseph from then on.
You know what that movie also does is that movie tells you that children can die at the hands of adults.
For sure.
And that's tough to accept as a child.
I'll go second. Mine's definitely not as dark. And this one is probably the most literal one of my entire list. This is, of course, a movie that needs no longer more content from us on it, but here we go again. Star Wars, the original Star Wars. And the reason it is on my list is because it is literally my first memory. I cannot trace back any memory before Luke and the two sons. So, I mean, that changes your life right there. From 1 second before.
That's a pretty powerful sentiment that you've just put forward. Is that your first memory is a film? I mean, a great film. I'm not knocking that, but
no.
I think that's a testament to kind of the power of why we do this goddamn podcast.
But also, I think there's a part of you that wants to say, maybe we can trace back all the problems Jehu has to that, and we might be able to do that. But yeah, that's my first memory. Before that I was not forming memories, and after that I was.
That's interesting. That's powerful. I kind of wish Star Wars was my first memory. That is pretty dope. I have these written in an order, but you guys have inspired me to change that order. And the one you're going to see a common theme through the ones I've chosen. And I will start, this is why I'm saying I'm changing it up. I'm going to start the one that birthed that theme, which is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. To me, this is the epitome of what movies can be. It is like genre bending. It defies expectation. It makes the impossible seem real. All the while, it tells a very centralized story on the concept of family and what it means to belong. I discovered this movie pretty young. I would say I was probably between 9 and 12, somewhere in that area. But I would say that watching this film is probably the exact moment like I became a cinephile. Like, this is the moment I fell in love with movies. And I mean, science fiction and fantasy are my two favorite genres. And this is, in my opinion, like science fiction done at its best.
I'm so glad that both of you guys had like this magic of cinema experiences that you still remember, because all of my first memories of watching movies are being too scared to watch something. And so I don't remember what the first movie that like really, really like, got me hooked on watching movies. So I'm glad that you guys have shared that, because I want that, because that's like, again, it's part of why we all do this podcast, but I couldn't think of one. So I'm glad that you guys both had one.
My closest thing to your sort of thing, Joseph, is as a kid, I was really uncomfortable with nudity. I did not like being naked. I did not like knowing that other people were naked. And one time I was watching Airplane with the family, and there's that one scene where tits just come in front of the screen for no reason. And that just like I could, like, if I could have crawled out of my own skin and disappeared, then I would.
We're really painting a picture of your life story here.
Yeah, no shit.
I feel like we might be able to put the pieces together here. Oh, that's good. So actually, that brings me to, I was trying to think of, because this is also something that I think everybody has, but I was trying to figure out what might have been your first experience with. What was your experience as with like the first great twist that you encountered in a movie? Because I think that changes what you expect out of a movie. Because prior to that, there never was a twist, and then after that, you're aware that that's even a possibility.
I mean, it feels cliche, but I was the right age for M. Night Shyamalan to really like affect me. Like those, like The Sixth Sense and Signs and The Village, all of those, they really hit home and were very informative to me in a way that like that was his shtick, but to me, he was like the person doing it. And I was too young to see Fight Club. So probably The Sixth Sense.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because that was totally going to be my answer, because that's what I was thinking it was. And then Hurt mentioned Star Wars, and I was like, oh, it's probably Empire Strikes Back.
I mean, I was definitely going to say it just about can't be a different answer for me as far as first one than Empire Strikes Back, because I was not aware that a twist was even a thing. I didn't know that stories did things other than the thing you expected them to do. So yeah, that one really hit on me. I mean, my favorite twist ever in a movie, and I think this one would just be life altering, just because after I saw it, like I kept chasing the twist fix. It was like, I gotta get that. I gotta find a movie that'll fool me like that again. And that was LA Confidential.
It's a diminishing returns game for sure.
It's totally a diminishing returns. And what really happens is when you start looking for it, you just start being able to dismantle a movie in about the first 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad we've kind of moved away from it.
Yeah.
It'll come back in our lifetime. I guarantee
for
it.
sure it will. Joseph, you got another one?
Well, I did. I wanted to on that note though, since you mentioned Fight Club, I feel like the baby sister of this that also changes the way you watch things, that has ruined several shows and movies for me since, is the first movie with an unreliable narrator.
You're asking me what the first movie with an
Yeah. Because I mean, I think for a lot of people, the one that I remember specifically is Fight Club. But I know it wasn't the first time that's ever been done, and certainly not the last.
It's the one that comes to me, though. If you ask me which is the one that was most influential to me with that shtick, I would say Fight Club.
Do you think Amadeus counts as a movie with an unreliable narrator?
Ooh. Because that is a good one.
He's definitely an untrustworthy narrator.
Sure.
But I don't think he ever gives you facts that aren't presented in the story.
No, yeah. I mean, I think there are bits where he like colors it his way, and then they portray it maybe a little different, but nothing quite so dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good call. I like that.
Jehu, you got another movie?
Okay, my next one on my list is, a lot of these have been shit we have mentioned on this podcast. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, which is weird because I do love it a lot. Arthur.
Oh,
have you guys ever watched Arthur? It seems like something you all might be too young for.
I don't even know what it is.
You don't even know what it is?
No.
I am familiar with the property, but I have also never watched it.
I mean, it's a early 80s comedy starring Dudley Moore. Dudley Moore was kind of the, it guy in comedy right before Eddie Murphy became the biggest thing on earth. But, he was big in the late 70s, early 80s. 10 was a big hit for him, but even though that was more of a big hit for Bo Derek's tits. And, but Arthur was really his sweet spot because what he was really good at was playing a drunk. And, I can just remember watching this movie a lot with my mom, and a big part of why I value humor so much comes from my mom. She's really funny, really good at telling stories, and she just fucking loved this movie. Anytime it was on, that's what we were fucking doing. We were watching Arthur, and it is a really great movie. The plot of it's pretty simple. He's a rich socialite who's drunk and partying all the time, and his mom tells him basically if he doesn't shape up and marry this waspy chick, she's going to cut him off. And, he has I think he's played by John Gielgud, a sort of sardonic butler who's his caretaker. And around the same time, he meets a woman that he actually likes. And, hijinks ensue. But it's a pretty heartfelt movie and all that, but it's also Dudley Moore's just really fucking hilarious in it. And it's probably the exact moment I sort of became more of a comedy person than a drama person. Not just in how I enjoyed it, but seeing how my mom enjoyed it. I mean, and when I say this changed my life, I don't mean just in searching out comedies. I wanted to be funny like Dudley Moore and Arthur. So, yeah, this one was a life changer.
Fair enough.
Also remade it with Russell Brand, which is
pretty
no.
Yeah. I'm not a Russell Brand hater or anything. Forgetting Sarah Marshall's pretty awesome, but that dude completely misses the point of that
movie. The next one for me is more of a realization. Like watching this movie was a realization that I am a different person now that I am a parent, which is, and we've talked about it a bunch, A Quiet Place. This was really the first film that I saw that because I was a dad, my viewing and perspective of it was changed. That I think emotional beats, I mean, don't get me wrong. Anyone who sees a kid get eaten by an alien, it's uncomfortable for everyone. But my son was about 3 years old when this movie came out. And it just very much, I was able to feel and experience a lot of what John Krasinski, what that character and that role were going through in those moments. And I really connected with it in a way that I don't think I would have not having children. This movie really affected me and I was really into it. But what the difference maker is, it's just that it's the first time I saw a movie and thought, oh, my enjoyment of that really I mean, it's a good movie, but my enjoyment of that really hinges on me being a parent. Like
Hmm.
the way that movie connects with me is just different, I think. And I had not really experienced that in a movie. There are plenty of movies about parent-child relationships and whatever, and I don't feel that. But when that case, because it's a parent of small children, in danger, and you desperately want to protect them, like, I'm like, oh, I 100% connect with this. And it, again, I'm not saying that people can't. I'm just saying this, for me, this is the first time that I experienced that in a movie. And it stuck with me. I am still excited to see the second one if we ever get to.
That reminds me of one I didn't put on my list, but it's sort of almost the opposite of that. I know I've talked about this in real life with you all, but have I ever talked about on the podcast how I used to confuse my grandfather with John Wayne?
I don't think so. On the podcast.
Okay. Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I did not really understand that John Wayne, and I'm talking a little kid, did not really understand that John Wayne was a different dude than my grandfather. They were both built about the same way. Odell sort of lived his life like he thought he was in a fucking John Wayne movie, just, fights and telling people off and just, never backing down to anybody and just being, a basically 24-hour-a-day asshole. But he has a movie called Big Jake, which is probably my favorite John Wayne movie. And it's one where he tries to sort of get in the spaghetti Western sort of feel, and it's a little darker and bloodier than his Westerns usually is. But in that movie, he's trying to rescue his kidnapped grandson. So, man, when I was a kid, I was fucking locked into that, Yeah, so sort of the opposite of that same thing.
Joseph?
You guys have such positive memories. I'm starting to worry that I only remember bad things that happened to me.
Well, I did just refer to my grandfather as a 24-hour-a-day asshole.
That's fair, you did.
It's not.
My next one is not super positive.
Okay, good. Because one of the ones that I remember just eroding kind of my trust in general relationships that I hadn't considered even worth evaluating was Gone Girl.
Oh, wow.
The way it deconstructs, kind of like the on the surface relationship versus, the true separateness of these two people that really don't know each other nearly as well as that they think they do, or at least one person doesn't know the other one nearly as well as they think they do. Really fucked with me. And I don't know, I feel like I was aware of a capacity for malice in close relationships that I wasn't previously aware of after that movie.
Like 100%. It's funny because in general day-to-day life, you seem like a more negative person than me, but seeing that movie, I was like, yeah, that could happen. Like that, it made total sense to me.
Gone Girl always imagines, it's to me is, what if Zack Snyder wrote the song Escape?
Shit. That might be the funniest take we've ever had on this movie.
It might be.
It's just really hard for me to separate.
How long have you had that one in the fucking chamber? My God.
We don't ever talk about it, but that's how I view that movie. The themes are very similar.
Well, it certainly ruins the impact of it on my life, but yeah, I super see what you're getting at there.
That's all I got to say about it.
I mean, what fucking more could you?
This podcast just changed my life. That take just changed my life.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
J. Hugh?
See, the next one was one I kind of had a hard time finding Patient Zero on. Because I really wanted to pick one that, I don't know, there was a few years in my life, particularly right when VHS rental became a thing, that all I wanted on earth were dumb action comedy. And, it's hard to say whether is Lethal Weapon the first one that got me into it, or was Ghostbusters the first one that got me into it. But I probably had to go with Beverly Hills Cop.
Good one.
And, again, that's not life-changing like it, after I came out of that, I was a different person. But I watched that movie and was like, I need to see more movies like that. And there was a couple years where those were the only kind of movies I would watch. And I rented these movies over and over so much that we were probably one of the first people on the block to have 2 VHS players so I could just tape them off and then watch them over and over at home. I don't know if that's a good progress to make in life, to become obsessive about something and watching it over and over, but I fucking loved that whole genre of 80s dumb action comedies. And Beverly Hills Cop is a pretty good example of it. Also, I'll say this about Beverly Hills Cop. Axel Foley does more solid detective work in that movie than all like 9 Batman movies together.
What's amazing to me about this genre is how the 80s like really nails it, and we just have not been able to capture that magic sense.
We really can't. We cannot do that anymore. I think one of the things is the need for us now to see a character change and grow, whereas that didn't always happen in these movies. Like, Axel Foley does not grow at all.
Yeah.
Zero Ghostbusters learn anything. You know, Riggs kind of learns to trust his partner, but he also is still a crazy asshole at the end of it. He just had a fight to the death on somebody's lawn like right before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why we can't do those today, is because we need to see characters grow now.
One thing that and I'll move on to mine because I did do Ghostbusters. Since
I was so close to Ghostbusters. I just felt like A, I'd be faking it, and B, you were going to say it.
Yeah. It kind of to your point. I think one thing that these movies do, and I think they both have in common, is the characters themselves are the fun. Like you know, like you're talking about, the Ghostbusters don't learn anything. Eddie Murphy is just being Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. Like those, the same thing's true for like Lethal Weapon. Like those characters are the humor in movies that are actually pretty serious. So like in Beverly Hills Cop or in Ghostbusters, the surrounding plot is where like the drama is. And because of that, we can take some, like in Ghostbusters, literally this building is falling on people walking down the street in New York City, and they're cracking jokes and dreaming up of giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like, because even though things are literally falling apart around them, they're still funny. It works really well together. Whereas I think the reverse doesn't really work. Like if we tried to put serious characters in humorous situations, that doesn't hit the way that a humorous character hits in a serious situation.
That's a good point.
And so I think, like, the reason why I say Ghostbusters is on my list is because, like, there's also kind of a lesson in that, which is sometimes when everything's really crappy, you got to be able to tell a joke, and you got to be able to, you know, hang out with your best friend, and you know, no matter what else is going on, if you can do those two things, you probably can get through it. And man, it reminds me a lot of my dad. That whole style, dirty 80s New York. Like, I like a lot of movies that look that way. It just, man, this is an epitome of things that I love. I love the humor. I love the actors. But like I said, I think it's a great way to structure a film, which is you put funny people in weird, difficult, strange scenarios.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's good. I'd never thought of it exactly that way, but I like that a lot. That because that is exactly what works about that movie. It's a dire situation that these guys are just cracking jokes about, and it doesn't make as much sense like if you put the cast of Gone Girl or you know, in the middle of like 40-Year-Old Virgin, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But we've tried it.
Right.
Well, I'm happy to start wrapping things up here. I had a whole list of things that kind of changed my perception of what movies were capable of, which, you know, has surely happened many times throughout my life. But probably the more recent ones, yeah, I should preface with, I don't think I watched a good movie until I was like 16. I think most movies that we watch are some version of Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, scaled up or down a couple of degrees. But like, you have to go out of your way to find something that's really stylistically different than a lot of the stuff that you watch. And two movies that first really showed me like the power of like actually using the visual part of the medium of movies as opposed to, you know, necessarily like dialogue heavy or story heavy. And I was kind of torn between these two, is Mad Max Fury Road and Gravity. Came out similar times and I think accomplished similar things.
Yeah, for sure.
Where they do so much with the visual part that almost everything else in the movie is irrelevant.
I always love any opportunity to bring up Mad Max Fury Road. I never watched Gravity due to extreme claustrophobia, but I mean, definitely Mad Max Fury Road was the last time a movie was just that like fix was like, man, I need to experience that shit again.
Yeah,
that's a group. Yeah,
with Gravity to me is like Avatar, which is a singular theater experience, but it is a one-of-a-kind theater experience. Like, there's nothing contextually to that film, but watching it in a theater is, hard to replace. And, we did it several times. Ian did it 100 times.
A lot of times.
Those are good ones. More recent.
Again, I was the first one on this list is from 2008. So like everything before that again was some version of Pirates of the Caribbean.
I had like two more on my list besides this one, but actually this one's plenty good to end on. Raising Arizona.
Ooh.
And I think why this is good for me is honestly just if it might just be a good way to describe me. If you if you want to describe me to someone who is in the know on movies and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, Jehu, one of his favorite movies is Raising Arizona. It's his favorite Coen Brothers movie, and they're his favorite filmmakers. That I think you can then watch that movie and see, oh, I know that dude. I can remember very specifically the first time I watched this movie. Me and some dumb friends used to do these, we'd make little home video movies, and and this sounds like I'm explaining like the behavior of like 12-year-olds or something, but we were like 23. We had stayed up all night making one of these movies. And my friend Steve was like, "Hey man, you want to watch Raising Arizona?" I was like, I'm not a big staying out late guy. I wasn't then, and I'm not now. But I was like, well, I'll watch like the first 10 minutes of it because I'd never seen it. And man, did that shit rope me in, because the 10 minutes of that movie before the opening credits is a whole movie into itself. It's my favorite one of the Coen Brothers movies, even though I know Lebowski's probably funnier, and there's probably 2 or 3 more you could name that are more well-made, but I just fucking love this shit.
It's really funny that you bring this one up, because I think there's a thing, because I wanted to mention it almost here, was that like, watching a Tarantino film for the first time, I think is a change, because like there's nothing like that before, and then you're like aware that, oh, Tarantino movies exist.
Right.
But the Coen brothers kind of inhabit this special space where they've made so many movies that are so vastly different, that are also so vastly iconic in their own different ways. Yeah. Like between like Raising Arizona, Barton Fink, Fargo, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and No Country for Old Men, like any one of those could be a landmark that you could point to as like, oh, you know what? The things that I watched before this were different than the things that I watched after this, or I was a different person.
That's very true. I feel that way about Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
I do too.
That my taste changed after I saw that movie. Yeah, I'm glad you brought the Coen brothers up, Jay, because they're some of my favorite filmmakers, and definitely to Joseph's point, like when I discovered them, I was a different like moviegoer than I was before them.
Well, I think with this one and Oh Brother, and with Big Lebowski, I think what's great about all three of those things is it takes very lowbrow stuff and very dumb characters and mixes them together in a really smart, well-made story.
Yeah,
and seeing H.I. McDonough and his stupid outfit and his stupid hair, saying his stupid things, validated my stupid life for some reason at that time. It's like, oh, what I'm doing is not too much different from this guy. I wasn't robbing liquor stores, but I was a worthless layabout, and it spoke to me.
Well, I'll close this out here, I guess, with these. This was not a movie that I intended to end on, so if it's somewhat of a disappointing ending, I do apologize.
Welcome to Real Phonies.
Yep. Alien. This film challenges me in a lot of ways because I do not like horror, and I do not enjoy being scared. And I probably was introduced to this movie when I was 8 years old, and it scared the bejesus out of me. But I really, really relate to this concept of a hidden yet ever-present darkness. Like I've battled anxiety since I was a young teenager, and so I really relate to this concept of this thing ever being present, but and not really necessarily being able to defeat it, but just trying to continue and survive with it there. It to me, like, also, came out at a time when women couldn't be the heroic lead of a movie, and it totally crashes and destroys that narrative. Ripley is, she's a badass. I mean, she's awesome. And I really enjoy this movie for a lot of reasons, both what it did for cinema and for film as a whole. Making a really impactful science fiction film, an impactful horror film, some of the genders and stereotype things that it breaks, while also just I can really connect to it on a personal level. And I like being scared when I watch this movie. I like the fear and uncomfortable nature that I kind of live in for like the 6 to 8 hours every time I watch it, which is probably more than a healthy person should.
Well, when Joseph said the thing about the tomahawk and the Patriot, I was trying to think of what my equivalent to that was, and this is it. I just remember specifically watching this with my Uncle Ricky, and I had no idea what it was. He was watching it on like HBO or something, and it was in space, and I liked space. Space is where Star Wars happened, and man, when that thing comes out of the fucking chest, I felt betrayed.
It's so funny because I think that's the thing that, it's most remembered for. And I think, probably definitely obviously made it on your list for that reason, Hurt.
Yeah.
But I do think it kind of undercuts how fucking menacing this movie is, to Christian's point. Like the whole movie has so much menace everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a great one, specifically for that reason.
I did want to say to Jehu, I also thought of the chest burster scene, but the other one that got me, and I'm pretty sure Joseph connects with this one as well, is the robot bug scene in The Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being like 10 or 11 and walking through Best Buy, and that being on like 50 TVs of this like little robot thing digging into Keanu Reeves' stomach, and be like, I am never watching that movie. Whatever that is, I am not participating.
Well, it just gave me chills when you mentioned it. It's gross. I hate that scene. I wanted to bring up one more thing, and I was just curious because in doing this, I was trying to find a movie that I thought like really challenged my like perspectives on people that are different than me, specifically kind of like, movies about race or racism or that kind of thing, but not necessarily constrained to that. And I realized that so many of the movies that I think are the beloved versions of this, your Remember the Titans, and I don't know what's the thing that people like, Hidden Figures,
right?
Those kind of movies. I think they're fun. I think they're enjoyable to watch, but I don't think they leave an impact on you because, by the end of the movie, the racism is solved in almost all of them in some form or another. The closest one that I could come up with for me was Moonlight, because one, it was just such a different story than anything that I was accustomed to, particularly the last scene, or the last third of the film, which is Chiron when he's older and he's kind of this hard street drug dealer, but then you see that part of him first, and then you also meet kind of the softer side that's like looking for connection and partnership, and that was a really stark like perspective I had never seen before, and something that I probably honestly hadn't considered, even though it's probably not that far off from necessarily like Omar from The Wire. But I was just curious if you guys had any experience with a movie that maybe changed your like perspective on another group of people that are different than you.
I got two. First is Fruitvale Station.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
That one, I think, man, probably my first real because growing up in the South, Remember the Titans is like, hey man, we beat it. It was tough for us for a while, but we got through it. But Fruitvale Station is a really like eye-opening, like, hey, these problems are still pretty real and still pretty prevalent. The other one, though, is I want to say a more like specific group, but I think it's the best way for me to kind of understand where they're coming from, and that's Full Metal Jacket. Like this whole concept of Vietnam vets just, being crapped on and people not wanting the whole concept of the draft and people being forced to go and fight a war that they didn't believe or agree in or that we should never have been in the first place. Like, it's really easy for us to develop an opinion that isn't fully informed through a history book. But I think that movie is a really good job of trying to give us a look into what that probably would have felt like for that individual and the world at that time.
I mean, I think that's a good choice. I wouldn't have thought of it, but yeah, I like it.
That's a good movie. God, my answer's so dumb in comparison to you, but I'm really proud of it. I'm going with Beverly Hills Cop again.
I actually don't hate that. Go ahead.
No, I like that answer.
Say your case.
My case is, before that, I had only been presented with the idea that a white dude could be the coolest dude on earth. And in that movie, for the first time, I was presented with the idea that a black dude could be the coolest fucking dude on earth. And in that movie, Eddie Murphy is the coolest fucking dude on earth.
For a while after that movie, Eddie Murphy really was the coolest dude.
That's true.
For the last half of the 80s, Eddie Murphy was the coolest thing on earth.
Eddie Murphy, I think, the only person to ever be a cast member on SNL and also host SNL at the same time.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Actually, on that note, I guess I have to also put out a thank you to Will Smith for any of his movies in the 90s for doing a similar thing for me, for making me aware that you could have the black guy as the lead who's the coolest guy on the planet. And it's not a thing that I would have had to differentiate at the time because I was too young to really think about that, but it definitely made an impact on my subconscious.
Yeah, for sure.
But is that it? Do we want to call it there?
Yeah, I mean, we can do what we've been watching. I've only watched one thing. I can hit it quickly.
If there's anybody that's listening, that's friends with us on Facebook or Twitter or has an email, I love these things. Send us an email, send us a comment or a tweet or whatever about movies that changed you. You came out different on the other side of. We'd love to hear it. But that's it for movies that change you. What have we been watching, guys? Christian?
I watched The Five Bloods.
Oh, yeah. How was it? Spike Lee's new movie.
Spike Lee's new Netflix film.
Or Spike Lee's new joint.
His joint. His follow-up to Black Klansman. Okay, let me say this. I think it's worse than Transformers. As a movie. Because it's pretty jarring as a movie. Structurally, it's very different than probably anything you've ever seen before. Having said that, he very clearly had a goal in mind, and he absolutely accomplishes that goal. It's weird to me that not weird. I get that Chadwick Boseman is such a big star. This is 10% more than a cameo for that guy. That he was advertised very heavily in this film.
For sure.
This movie is three things. It's about 70% old black guy version of that Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac movie from Netflix last year.
Triple Frontier. It's a very similar plot to that. It's 25% History Channel Vietnam documentary. And then it's whatever's remaining. I don't remember percentages I said. Famous black people of history or of the 20th century. There are literal moments where lines of dialogue where they explain to you who this black person is you've probably never heard of and what amazing accomplishment they did that you didn't realize was a black person. And again, I don't know that works as a movie, but I understand that that's what he wanted to do, and I can understand the importance in doing that. And so I can appreciate it for that reason. The other thing I say about the Vietnam History Channel documentary, the present day action scenes seem like movie quality things. The ones that take place during Vietnam, they look like they would be on someone doing a voiceover, and the audio track being very drum and bugle bum bum ba da 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 dum type thing. It's just very. It feels like something you've seen before you would watch in your high school history class. And again, I feel like all of that was very intentional, and I can respect that, and I think that's what he was trying to do. I would just say if you're expecting to see a more traditional film, this is not that. At least it wasn't that to me.
Structurally, it's just different. It's just different than anything I think I've really ever seen before, because it does have these three very distinct things that are all kind of interwoven. But I did like it. It's a bit long. It's like 235. Like
you liked it, but it's worse than Transformers.
Yeah, I'm saying it's just worse than Transformers. Like in that, as a structural movie, I don't know that it was so different for me. I don't know that I really was able to enjoy it. Now, maybe going back and watching it a second time and knowing what that it's going to be, that might change. But it was. I really liked like hearing some of what they were talking about. Some, like black Medal of Honor recipients during the Vietnam War, stuff like that. Like, to me, as a person who enjoys military history, like I found that stuff really interesting. If you're not into those things, then that might not be as interesting. It's just weird, man. It's just different than you think it's going to be. And again, you can tell that's very intentional, but that doesn't necessarily make it super comfortable, I guess is the right thing to say. That's all.
Well,
all right, y'all. Have a good one.
All right, get out of here.
Okay, I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
This past weekend, a comic book legend named Dennis O'Neil died. And so I spent a lot of the weekend reading Denny O'Neil comic books. Denny O'Neil probably made Batman the character you think of when you think of Batman. He's the one who brought him back more to the roots of being a loner detective sort of, figure of the night. He's the one who brought the Joker back from being the sort of character from the 60s TV show to being a frightening murderer again. A lot of his comics are hard to read for today's readers because they're written for readers in the 70s when, every comic you were reading was the first and last comic you were ever reading.
Right.
Or at least that's what they sort of, envisioned. So, there's a lot of exposition and stuff. But, he did the first appearance of Raj Al Ghul, which is better than Transformers. He did a Joker story called The Joker's Five-Way Revenge, which is what I was talking about, where he brought back the Joker to his sort of killer roots, also better than Transformers. He did a story called There's No Hope in Crime Alley, which is a great fucking title. It's probably his best story. I'd also say better than Transformers. But if I was going to recommend anything of his to like the modern reader, he did a 5-part story in the 90s called Venom, which, is mostly widely known as it sort of lays the groundwork for Bane to become a character. But, this is just a story of Batman trying a performance-enhancing drug and how it goes off the rails. And it's a great story, definitely better than Transformers. So, yeah, that's basically all I have to report.
That's funny that's what that's about because, my understanding historically is that, Bane was originally supposed to be called Venom, but DC didn't realize that Venom was already a trademarked character, something along those lines.
Right. I didn't know that exact story, but it actually makes a lot of sense because, yeah, the Bane origin is totally based around this Venom story.
But the fact that it would be like, it would be, external substance tried first by our hero and then rejected and then, taken on to the nth degree by one of his villains is exactly Venom.
That's true. That's a really good point.
That's a funny parallel.
Actually, they even sort of, of course, it's not shape-shifting, but it's presented as sort of a black liquid in comics.
That's very funny. My understanding was that's entirely coincidence, but I like that. Anything else?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
I like it. I have I'm on my usual train of a Studio Ghibli movie a week. This week we did the namesake. We did My Neighbor Totoro, which I had never seen before.
All right.
And it's super fabulous. I think I had been afraid of it for a long time because it seemed like the most kiddie of all the movies, which in my own defense, it was, but in like the best way possible. It like presented this world so much through a child's eyes in that like both like the good parts, the joy and the fun parts felt very like from a child's perspective, and the tension and the conflict also like, you know, I took the time to rip on Disney after we watched it to my wife, that like they didn't have to murder anybody's parents to manufacture some kind of like, you know, some kind of tension in this movie. They find things that are very tense and stressful when you're a kid, that, you know, maybe like don't seem that way when you're older, but when like looking back at it from that perspective, like, oh, that is scary. Like one of the things is like they're waiting for their dad to come home, and he doesn't get home when he's supposed to get home. He's not on the bus he's supposed to be on, and they don't know where he is, and they don't know when he's coming home. And it's like it's a very tense sequence, but you know, at the end of it, he's just on a different bus. He just missed the other bus. But I don't know. I really, really, really liked it, and I don't know why I'd skipped it for so long.
I had a friend named Esteban who was an anime super fan, and I used to leave pictures of Totoro wherever he was, wherever I knew he was going to be. I'd I'd print it out on a piece of paper, fold it up, and leave it there. And of course, would never admit that I was doing it. And he took it very personally, I guess, because he had really broad taste in anime. That whoever this was implying, he only liked cutesy kid stuff.
Yeah.
But it was good time. About a year of my life was doing that. Yeah.
Was this a friend from work or just a personal friend?
No, this is a friend from work. This is a friend when I worked at my old movie theater.
I was about to say, that seems like a work effort, you know, like
and
the things you do to stay busy.
Here's the best thing I can do to explain to this guy to you. He worked at my theater, but he also worked at the 29 Rave, and I knew a guy who worked over there, and for whatever reason, even though we didn't allow that shit, we allowed Esteban to, because he was difficult to communicate with. So I was talking to our friend who worked over there. It's like, oh yeah, my buddy Esteban's working there. How's he working out? And he was like, oh, the British guy? Esteban is in no way British.
It doesn't sound British. Yeah.
No. But he had just, once he got over there, decided he was going to speak with a British accent. Anyways, go ahead.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, God. All right. Well, that is a departure. But bringing it back. So this week I also I'm breaking this tradition in coming weeks, but continued my pattern of watching a heady, quiet, high-concept sci-fi movie each week. Last week it was High Life, which I mentioned was full of fluids, and worse than Transformers. This week I watched Ad Astra with Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones, which was famously kind of swept under the rug and not advertised at all.
Right.
But was, you know, some people were marking it for awards acclaim, I guess. I'm with the studio on this one. They should have buried this motherfucker as deep as they could have gotten it. It's a ripoff of a bunch of other better movies, but just slower and like attempting to be smarter, but actually coming off as dumber.
Well, I remember the main reason I didn't watch this was not only did it look like movies I had already seen before, it looked like movies I had seen the actors in this movie in before.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that, because Liv Tyler's role in this is exactly the same as it was in Armageddon. Really? Tommy Lee Jones is actually at one point in the same outfit as he was in Space Cowboys. I think Donald Sutherland's also in Space Cowboys.
Yes, he is.
So, you know, you're not wrong. I'm not sure that there was any creativity in this movie at all. It was a long, miserable slog, and you know, as much as I shat on High Life last week, at least I felt like there was a point there. I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't have a good time with it, but I see where you were going with this. This was just dumb. This was just the dumbest fucking shit I've seen in a hot minute, and I was real mad after I watched it. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, I binged a whole weird show on Netflix. It's my new anime that I'm already done with, called Dorohedoro, which is going to be a real pickle to try and explain what this anime is about. It's about a man with a lizard head who lives kind of on Earth, but the Earth is called the Hole, and it's adjacent to an alternate reality world that's filled with sorcerers who are just humans with magical powers. And in this world, sorcerers are the rich ones who can do whatever they want, and they just pop into the hole, which is where normal people live, and practice their magic on them and leave.
Right.
And so the kind of the basic premise is the guy with the lizard head is trying to go to the sorcerer world and kill the sorcerer that turned his head into a lizard. But like that's the tip of the iceberg of all the weirdest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. I had to watch like 3 episodes of it just to figure out like I couldn't even register how to feel about it. Because it was just so bizarre for a while, you know? Does that ever happen? It's like a kid who like, you know, like they fall and hit themselves or they get hit by something and like they're not sure what they're supposed to do in that circumstance.
Right. There's that pause before they start screaming. Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That's what the first 3 episodes of this show were. But at some point, probably like 3 or 4 episodes in, you get so endeared to each of the characters, both in like the normal world and the sorcerer world, that you get kind of sucked into the plot. And it's weird and it's kind of gruesome. It's fairly gruesome. I'm underselling it, but you know, if you can stomach it, it's pretty delightful. It's definitely something you'll have never seen before.
I just listening to this came up with a theory.
Okay,
which you know how. You know, the like stereotypical movie pitch is, you know, you're a guy, you go into an executive and you got to say something really concisely that they can picture. Like you say, you know, like the cliche one is Jaws on pause. And then they're like, oh shit, a movie about someone getting chased by a killer dog. I can visualize that. I think anime pitches are the opposite of that. You have to go in and pitch something that there's no way I can visualize that, and I need you to draw it for me.
You know, I don't think you're far off base. I don't think that's always necessarily a mark of quality, but there definitely does seem to be like a weirder room to play in this particular medium, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. But that's it for me too.
All right.
So next week we actually have a plan. Isn't that amazing?
We do. Which one? I know we have 2 plans. What's the plan for next week?
We have some kind of plan. I was going to talk to Christian about it before he left, but then he left. So Judd Apatow. Well, gosh, I see. This is the problem. I mix him up with Evan Goldberg all the time. Which ones did he make? He made Knocked Up.
He made Knocked Up. He made 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah. Okay.
This is 40. The one where Adam Sandler's dying.
Yes.
Funny People.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to watch his new movie, King of Staten Island, starring Pete Davidson. And then we're either going to do a thing about Judd Apatow or a thing about Judd Apatow versus Evan Goldberg. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, it might be a fun change for us to talk. We haven't talked about just a movie in so long.
Oh, you just want to do a movie review?
I mean, we could just talk. Well, also, I have a lot to say about various Judd Apatow movies.
Okay, so you know what? I came in too hot here. We don't actually know what we're doing next week. It will involve Judd Apatow and or the King of Staten Island in some way.
We know it will be inspired by Judd Apatow's King of Staten Island.
Though to be fair, these vague promises are the best we've given you in quite a long time. So be thankful for what you get.
We can promise them that next week we will definitely know what we're doing the week after.
I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody for listening. Please rate, subscribe. Please tell your friends. Really, word of mouth is how we get any new listeners, particularly for kind of a small time podcast like us. But if you'd like to write it in for movies that changed you, it's a pretty. I think for each person, it's a pretty singular personal experience. So I'd really like to hear any stories that you'd have with any life-changing cinema experiences you've had. You can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at realphonies and on Instagram at real_phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys next week.
Later.